There's a primary election coming up on August 11th here in Minnesota, and Republicans in the state are looking for somebody at the top of the ticket to run for governor. There are three very different candidates who are running. Number one, you've got Kendall Qualls. He's a veteran and businessman who has the endorsement of the Republican Party here in Minnesota. Then there's Lisa Demuth, the Speaker of the Minnesota House, the top Republican up at the Capitol. She's largely seen as the establishment candidate. Then there's MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. He has the endorsement of President Donald Trump. And there are many Republicans here in Minnesota who see Lindell as a potential liability on down-ballot races come November. We spoke with all three of the candidates in our studios in late July. Here's a little bit of what they had to say. You say the most important thing you want to do as governor is eliminate fraud in the state. How will you do that?
We've done some work already in my time in the legislature over this last year with finally passing the Office of Inspector General bill, additional whistleblower protections. But when I look at being governor and really holding agency commissioners accountable to make sure that there's not going to be fraud going on in our various agencies within the state, it first starts with choosing commissioners that are qualified for the job and will be held accountable. That's the first step. And then putting in additional protections within internal controls in every area that affects our state. And then also going forward, as we're looking at how dollars are spent, making sure that they're getting to the people that need them the most and having that oversight that has been sorely lacking. Do we need to grow government to keep an eye on government? I would say with nearly $10 billion of fraud in the state of Minnesota, record fraud and higher taxes, the return on investment for the Office of Inspector General is going to pay off.
I don't think enough's getting done right now because I know there's suitcases still going out of Minneapolis shipped overseas. Here's what that's going to be. We're going to dig into that as we've already been investigating, and you guys probably seen a few days ago when we put up my investigation to Keith Ellison and Steve Simon in our elections. We're not stopping. We're digging in. If there's corruption here, people are going to jail. I don't care if they're the politicians or who they are. We're not going to let this crime go on.
There has been a new Office of Inspector General that's been passed into law to be established that is going to look into fraud. There are ways to. You're laughing. Are you saying that doesn't go far enough?
I don't think they're doing enough. I think everyone in Minnesota.
It was bipartisan passed in the legislature.
But I don't care who passes it, a Republican or a Democrat or who's blocking it. When I'm governor, the people in Minnesota have had it. They want results. They want to see people prosecuted. This money would not only the money stole from us, but also think of the people that really needed these things. There's people out there in Minnesota, they need the money from these programs. So each one of them I have looked at already. We're taking each one apart. We're not leaving anyone behind.
Minnesota's current 2-year budget is about $71 billion with a potential deficit brewing because of a mismatch in revenue and spending. You say you want to cut state spending. How would you do that?
Now we have a deficit coming when we had an $18 billion surplus. That kind of experience doesn't get you anywhere, especially in the private sector. Clay, look at this for just a minute. Under Mark Dayton's budget, last year when he was in office, it was $40 billion. There were no starving kids in Minneapolis. Bridges weren't breaking down. Our school systems were much better than they are right now. And now the budget is almost doubled to $70 billion in less than 8 years. That's unconscionable. There's nothing crisis-oriented that needed a $30 billion increase. So when you say how we're going to cut, that's simple. Again, in the private sector, and this goes all the way back to Ronald Reagan. He did this back then in the 80s. Just all you have to do is cut to 12% across the board.
Across the board?
Across the board. Basically said there was a $9 billion fraud that never circulated into the state budget anyway. It was stolen out of the pockets of the state government and the pockets of Minnesotan taxpayers. It never got circulated in the state budget. They never needed it. So that $12 billion, that 12% cut won't even be noticed.
Right now, the Minnesota legislature is about as evenly divided between Republicans and Democrats as it can go. If you were the governor, how would you work in a bipartisan manner or with a legislature where Democrats, at the moment anyway, have a slight majority?
With the tie in the House of Representatives specifically, and I go back to that night of the 24 election, and Melissa Hortman and I then had the opportunity to figure it out. We needed a pathway forward, how the next 2 years would look. And I'm proud of the work that we did, both in setting up the organizational agreement. And Clay, you well know that Democrats stayed out for 23 days. We had to figure out a way through, and we still did good things and got bills passed and kept the government going. Some improvements, but it wasn't all Republicans weren't happy, all Democrats weren't happy. It was a good combination given what the voters sent us with a tie. My hope, though, was that after 2 years in a tie, Melissa and I could go back to our caucuses for whoever was going to be in charge in 27 and say, we've figured out that people can work together when they have to. Why don't we take some of those lessons forward, regardless of who the majority was? You know, with the tragedy, she is no longer with us, and that can't be. But there are still 131 legislators that had that experience of how you could work together when you had to.
I won't start the parties. I will start with the people.
Yeah.
And I'll go around the state. We have town halls, reminding everyone, again, focus on what we have in common, not what we have that's different. I was never a big fan, and I'm still not a big fan of this focusing on diversity. When you focus on diversity, you focus on what's different. Focus on what we have in common, regardless of our differences.
If you have common sense solutions for the people, it should be easy. And I had to do this for the last 5.5 years working on our election platforms. I worked with Democrats and Republicans, and I can sit here and tell you right now, 90% of what I was blocked were Republicans. And everyone's going, well, Mike, I thought you wanted, you're a Republican. I'm common sense. I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative Christian. Okay. But if there's a common sense solution, you got to go with this.
You've been on the campaign trail all summer. You're meeting with voters within your party, asking for their support. What are you hearing from them about the state of Minnesota and their concerns?
The things that rise to the top are in this order. Fraud. How could all this fraud go on, and why wasn't it stopped? A lot of people want their money back. And so I can talk about the plan that I have going forward to both stop it and not allow it to go forward. Second to that, when I've talked to the business community, and this can be large businesses, small businesses, school districts, specifically, thinking of paid family medical leave and the pressure that is put on when employees are gone and the cost of that. Those are the things that rise to the top, and then needing a change in the in the governance of this state.
I'm the nobody out here. I've got the endorsed candidate, right? But I'm not. I don't have a title behind my name. I'm not Speaker of the House. I'm not, state senator from what's 37B. I don't sell pillows. I'm a nobody. Then why would all of these delegates from around the state vote for a guy that I call Minnesota home by choice, not by birth? Why would they select a guy like me that don't look like the majority of the state to do something, to lead our state, to be the chief executive? And I think that's the question people need to look at the insight, because they've learned something that most Minnesotans haven't yet.
If you don't win the primary on August 11th, are you going to rally behind the Republican who does? Or?
Absolutely, 100%. We got to save Minnesota. I mean, that's it. I'd even give all my plan and go, hey, but I'm very afraid they wouldn't implement them, and they don't have the courage to go up against the industries we're going to be going up against. Everything from teachers unions to big pharma to the farmers with all the Bayer and the Monsantos of the world. I have the courage to do that. I will never back down.
I'll support whoever. Yes, I'm going to support me because I'm going to win the primary.
Okay.
Come on, Clay.
All right. Will you back Kendall Qualls if he wins the primary?
I am looking forward to defeating any of the Republican candidates that are running for governor right now. I'm looking forward to defeating them in the primary on August 11th, and we will have that conversation when I am the nominee.
Okay, so you're not committing to backing whoever wins the primary.
I fully
right
expect that I've worked hard and will gain that victory and that nomination with winning the primary.
What I'm not going to do is sit and bash these other candidates like a typical politician. Oh, Mike Lindell hasn't paid his taxes, or he lived in Texas for a year. You know what? They can bash me, but the public knows me. They've been bashing me for years and years, and I will not back down. I will never stop trying to save our state and save our country and save our economy. That's it.
Between now and August 11th, what are you going to be doing to connect with voters to make them feel that you are the right person to vote for on the primary day?
Putting out that budget that they can get, that their income tax can be eliminated, and they're not going to say this isn't just some big old pie in the sky thing to get elected. No, I would like all that. Every outlet question me, well, Mike, how can are you sure you can do that? Yes, because there's precedence. And there's also, this comes right from our books here. This has been 6 months in the works. And people, to bring them hope that, wow, for the first time in Minnesota, you got to make it affordable.
When I look at the votes, especially over the last 2 years, everything had to be bipartisan, Clay. With the tie, we couldn't do anything with just one party. And I think that is an important thing for Minnesotans to realize, that I am a leader that could lead the House of Representatives as Speaker. I could lead my Republican caucus and keep people unified and deliver good things for Minnesotans. I think that is what people are looking at for a leader.
Well, this is the last ditch effort. I mean, all of us, regardless of what side of the political aisle you're on, all of us have had friends and family that have left Minnesota for various reasons. And I get it. When you're a socialist, Democrat Socialist of America, you want a one-party system, and you want the people that can afford to leave will leave, and those that will stay behind or can't afford to move, it becomes a one-party state. This is the last chance to save it, to actually move the needle back to normal. We're not trying to make it a Texas or a Florida. We want to make it Minnesota again, because right now it's not.
There you have it. Whoever wins that race will face Democratic U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar in the governor's race come November. We did reach out to Senator Klobuchar for a similar interview, but didn't hear back. Thanks for watching. This is NPR News.